Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I want to talk about some of my least favorite romance tropes. So I've already done a video a couple of months ago on some of my favorite romance tropes, and these are some of my least favorite because I've been reading more romance since I put that video out. And I wanted to talk about some of the things that I hate seeing, and these are things that pop up in mostly contemporary romance, I would say, and like rom-coms, although some of the stuff can be in like fantasy and stuff. But I would say less fantasy sci-fi based tropes here. These are much more contemporary romance tropes, but man, do I hate them. So the first one is one that I've mentioned in a lot of videos because it's popped up in a couple of books that I've read, and this is just the overemphasis on how large the man is in straight relationships. So many books, even if the guy isn't like a huge dude necessarily, it's always like how broad his shoulders are, how big he is. Like it's just very like all of the markers of like hyper masculinity, which I get. I love me some like big dudes, you know? I'm loving Henry Cavill in The Witcher. I would climb Jason Momoa like a tree. I love Captain America and Chris Evans and his like farmer's market hot bigness, but I don't need to be like beaten over the head with it. And a lot of books will just like constantly talk about how big the dude is, and I'm like, okay, you already described him in the beginning. I know he's a large man. You don't need to keep telling me. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me did this, I feel like, the most, but most books will do this. And then I get extra annoyed when the woman is talked about as being like so tiny. Like I get that the like tall and small thing is a trope that a lot of people like, and I like it when I'm not beaten over the head with it. Like I think The Hating Game had also a thing talking about like how tiny her knees were, and I'm like, we don't need to talk about how like tiny her knees are. Like it just makes me feel gross because I don't love the whole like big guy with like little tiny woman. Like I feel like so many romance books rely on this trope of like a very small petite feminine woman with like a big masculine man. And again, I like masculine traits, but I just don't need this like polarized version. You also have like the woman being like very skinny. Like it just makes me feel icky, and I don't need to be told 100 times in the book how broad his shoulders are or what his pecs look like or his delt muscles. I freaking get it. Ooh, another one that I've hated for years is the like masculine nickname. Again, most of this is stuff with like straight romances because it's just been like, we've been beaten over the head with it by like society for so long. But like the masculine nickname of like blank, mad dog blank, you know, like I'm just thinking of Travis Maddox again, but I don't think his nickname in there is Mad Dog. Maybe it is, but it's like Travis Mad Dog Maddox. Like that kind of thing. This popped up and I wrote it down when I was reading a like romance short story compilation around Christmas time. And there were so many of these bad tropes in that short story compilation that I wrote so many of these down because I'm like, oh yes, I hate that. But just like the guy having a hyper masculine aggressive nickname, I hate it. And this ties in with another one later, which I'll talk about, but the hyper masculine nickname, like stop. Oh my God, one that I hate and that popped up in the last few months when I was reading a story that I didn't think this was gonna happen in is the accidental pregnancy. I know some people might like this. I hate it so much. I hate the accidental pregnancy. And then like everything that comes after, because it's usually like there's an accidental pregnancy and then that's when they reveal their feelings because one of them is like, oh, I don't think that they're as into me as I am into them, and I want to keep this baby and blah, blah, blah. And then they do like the reveal, and then you get like an epilogue of them like later with all their children, and it just makes me want to puke. I just don't like this like romanticizing of this happening, because that for most people is a very traumatic event and not a romantic thing. Like if it's an accidental pregnancy where they're not trying to get pregnant, I'm just like, oh my God, please don't. This also ties into like, I don't tend to love epilogues where people are like happily married with 2 kids and a white picket fence. Now I can forgive that. It's not like one that I'm like, if that happens, I will die. But like, I just don't like the just like stereotypical thing, which I know some people associate with the happily ever after, and that is some people's happily ever after. But I think it's so common to see like married with kids and da da da, and I'm like, but what if that's not everybody's like ultimate wish, you know? Like, why can't they just be together? Married's fine, whatever, but like, why can't we get a variety of like married with kids, married without kids, maybe just in like a long-term partnership where we're not married? I would like some variety. So I have a few gripes about like side character tropes within romance books. The number one most hated one for me is that all other women are slutty bitches, especially exes. I cannot stand this. This pops up so often, I feel like, and it's just like every other woman's a bitch and slutty and is trying to get back with the guy and da da da. And I'm just like, can we not have so much women hate? I just don't like it. And especially when it's like the ex and it's like the evil ex. That ties into another one I'm going to talk about in a second. I just hate the evil exes thing because it's like, yes, there are some evil exes out there, people that do this, but it's a very common trope where I feel like exes aren't usually as involved as romance books makes it seem. So then I kind of wonder if like romance books and like rom-coms in society has made especially women feel like they have to defend their partner from these evil exes that are trying to take them back, when in reality like most people don't care about their exes and want to get back with them, you know? So I kind of have thoughts about that and what that does to like try to pit women against other women, you know? But especially in adult relationships where everyone probably has exes potentially, and you're just a little bit more mature. Like, why isn't it like, oh, okay, I appreciate this person for being with my partner and possibly teaching them things. You know, like everyone learns from every relationship. So you just kind of having like a respect, a mutual respect for someone's ex, but not being like, I hate them, they're a slutty whore. I just like, it's the worst. Attached to that, I also hate the evil mother-in-law trope. Like, don't get me wrong, I know that in-laws are like very complicated and it's very hard to find ones that you like legitimately get along with. Like, it's a problem, I get that. But the amount of just like evil mother-in-laws who are super protective of their sons, which I get it's a thing. Believe me, I've experienced it. But like the over-the-topness of like really being mean to the new partner, and or having like a photo of the ex and the partner like framed on their grand piano being like, I want them to get back together, and like almost like the mother-in-law and the evil ex are like conniving together to get back with, like, I just hate that. And especially because like a lot of times the partner will like not be shutting that behavior down. Like if you're gonna have that, have the guy be shutting it down and like, no ma, you can't do this, etc., etc., instead of being like, you know, it's like harmless. I'm like, if this was actually behavior that was happening, it would be incredibly toxic. Do I think that it happens as much as like rom-coms and romance books make it seem like? No. But if you're gonna show it, shut it down. Here's one that might make some people mad. And it's not one of my least favorite ones, it's just one that I figured out that I don't really like. And this is more like a subgenre within romance. But I do not like sports romance. I'm sorry. I've read a few of them and I will read a few more. Like I want to read some more Mariana Zapata, and she has just like a lot of sports romances. I think I don't like football romances, American football. So there's something about it. I think it just combines a lot of these things. Like usually the guy will have this like sport nickname that's like really masculine. He's like a really big dude. He doesn't talk about his feelings, blah, blah, blah. So it just is like, it's that hyper masculinity that I'm just like, listen, I love a good man that looks like he could build me a house. But like, I just don't like that. And I just don't like sports. And I think that's the thing too, is I'm like, I don't care about football. So I don't care about all the dynamics that are happening within this like football community. Like I just don't care. And I don't know if there's any that I would care about. Like, okay, I'm gonna backtrack on this a bit. I don't like football romances because I don't like football. Could I be okay with maybe like a baseball romance or like a rugby? Maybe. So if you want to recommend those to me, feel free. But there's something about it that I just don't like. And I know it has a lot of tropes that some people do really like, and people are like gung-ho for sports romance, and I'm just like, no. The last one that I have for now is annoying nicknames. And this is something that the couples will do, and usually the guy will do to the girl. And I think it's because most of these nicknames, that now that I've written them down, are like infantilizing. Like baby girl and little queen and things like that. It just, again, this whole like, little baby, you're small, you're like really young, because we have all these problems with men like that are 40 trying to date teenagers. And I think it just like, it bothers me as a whole. I don't like this, like the nicknames that are like little cutesy. And the thing is, I know a lot of people have nicknames in their relationships. Like I've done the same thing in relationships, but I wouldn't want to put those on a page. You know, like I don't want to see them. I actually know it's annoying. Like I have visceral memories of being in relationships being like, these names are so annoying, but I can't stop saying them. And maybe if the nicknames were more like adult, again, I just don't like this whole like baby girl, little queen, all this little stuff, just making the women seem like little soft babies. Like I would rather have, you know, a more empowering nicknames, I guess, but I have yet to see those. So that is it. Those are some of my most hated romance tropes. So like I said in my video with my favorite romance tropes, as I read more, I will talk about the tropes that I like and dislike more throughout. So there'll be future videos on this. I did dip my toes further into the romance genre, but comment below, let me know some of your most hated romance tropes. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.